Good afternoon, I'm Kyle with Prescott Police K-9 unit, and this is my K-9 partner Cooper. He is a 3-year-old Labrador Retriever, single-purpose narcotics detection dog.
I'm Troy Crawford. This is Benny. He's a 4-year-old Labrador Retriever. He's also a K-9 narcotics detection dog.
We're going to show you how the dog spends their days. We're going to go over some training. We have some training aids out. We're going to do some obedience, the obstacle course, and show you how the dogs get to be dogs at times. K-9 Benny's going to go up the stairs and then probably go straight to work because his favorite thing to do is find illicit substances. So freeze his release word and then go through the tunnel and we'll work the scent wall. The scent wall, we use it to put out distracting and proofing odors. So we'll put tennis balls out in front of them. There's usually food along with target odor. So Benny's a pretty independent dog. He usually does a quick scan first and then Troy will put him on a pattern if needed to find the source of target odor. Once he does, he'll sit and stare. Troy will mark the behavior and reward him. The reward is going to be some interaction with his handler, Troy. The toy just facilitates it.
So this is Cooper and Kyle. Cooper is a 3-year-old lab. He's certified in fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. As you can see, they already know what these walls can do. It's a scent wall. So what we do is we have all these holes. Some of these holes are narcotics. What you'll see with Cooper is a behavioral change with his body, behavioral change in his breathing, and then a final response. His final response is a sit. Once he gives that final response, he's going to be rewarded by Kyle. The reward is a toy and playing with the handler.
So Benny is a 4-year-old yellow lab. He's been on the force for 2 years. Interesting fact about Benny is Troy is his second handler. So Troy came in, went through a 4 to 5 week in-house academy with Benny. The dog and handler take a little bit to get used to, but they actually picked it up really quick and completed the academy ahead of schedule. Benny loves to work. Troy's a hard worker. They're always out here working on something, trying to figure out what the next step is and the different ways to improve the dog. Our motto is to outthink them, not outmuscle them, so we try to make it as positive and pleasant as possible to make sure the dog's having fun and enjoying it, because the harder they love to play, the more they love to work, and we just mix the two together where they're pretty much the same thing. Same with us. It's hard to have a bad day when you have your best friend in the car with you. We spend more time with our dogs than we do our families for the most part. The dogs come home, they sleep with us. Before our kids eat breakfast, our dogs eat breakfast. All the vet care and emergency care falls on us. So much like you'll see like a SWAT medic and those type of aspects and those functions, we're the dog's first line of medical treatment to get them stable, to get them to where they need to be. So whether some type of injury happens, whether we're in a car accident or something tragic happens, we carry a first aid kit and we're trained to provide first aid to get them suited to where they need to go. We've talked with the hospitals, and if they need a helicopter flight down to the valley where there's some veterinarians that are trained in trauma such as gunshots, stab wounds, which is not usually something we'll encounter, but it's not to say we'll never encounter it. We have those arrangements made as well to get the dogs to the best treatment they can wherever it is in the state.
This is training for us. Some of the misconceptions when we're training is that we give the dogs drugs, they're addicted to it. That's a misconception. That is not how we do it. They'll play with their handlers, and they know that when they find the source that playtime's coming. So everything that people hear about us getting the dogs high is false.
The way a dog's nose works, it breaks down each individual odor sort of into layers, and they can work through multiple different odors. Unlike our nose that can smell a pizza or a pot roast, a dog can actually break it down and tell you each ingredient that's in that food item down to the salt and pepper. They're an amazing tool, and it's very difficult to outsmart one of them based on their genetics. The reason we use the yellow lab, or one of the reasons we use the yellow lab, is because they are bred around their nose. The Shepherds and Malinois are great dogs, super athletic. For a single purpose aspect, they do a great job as well. We found the yellow labs work well with our department, just based on the development of breeding around the nose, the sociability and everything like that. Our counterparts that use Shepherds and Mouths are equally as sociable and everything else. We just had great luck with the Labradors.
You'll see when he gets into odor, the behavior change. And then because it's high, we tell these dogs they want to get as close to the source as they can. So because it wasn't on the ground where he could sit, he was jumping up, trying to get his nose as close to the source as he could. Kyle again rewards and plays with them.
The interesting thing about the Prescott K-9 unit is we're all grant and donation based. We raise our own money. We're not a line item on the department budget for the support of the dogs, so we rely on the community, which luckily we have a great community that supports our K-9 program. And all those donations go directly to new equipment and improving our training yard, which we're in the process of doing. So we have several different obstacles out here. They all have their different purposes. Teach the dog how to use their body, their back legs, get them uncomfortable. These are similar to walking up a ramp into a semi-truck or being in the back of a trailer. A little unsteady, gives it a little shake. And there's all different types of obstacles to get them some exercise, jumps. It's a giant doggy playground. Part of our training today, you saw a mock traffic stop. With that mock traffic stop, we used a known vehicle. The driver was actually one of our fellow Prescott police officers. So during that, we put a training aid on the vehicle and deployed the dogs. You'll see during those how a real life scenario would be with the dogs being deployed. 90% of our fines and interactions with the public are through traffic stops. So you'll see the dogs change behavior. You'll see each dog is similar to like a fingerprint. They have their own different ways of alerting, which is prevalent in those videos and how they operate, but they generally have the same basic behaviors of change of breathing, change of behavior, and final response. Part of the dog's day-to-day is the use of the treadmill when we're stuck doing paperwork or other admin activities, so they're staying conditioned. With the summer months coming up, it is a little bit harder on them based on the temperatures, so that helps keep them conditioned, just like us when we go running and everything like that, to keep us conditioned. So it's a great tool we use to get some energy out of them. Also multitask while we can do some paperwork. They thoroughly enjoy it. Cooper will hop off and hop back on, so will Benny. So it's just a great tool to keep them conditioned, and it also expands their working lifespan because they're not really just sitting all day. We're keeping them busy and keeping them in shape as well. So this is an open area search. What you'll see in this generally is bracketing. There's still a light wind, so our scent cone is going to be a lot wider, so you'll see the dog bracket more from side to side as they work towards source. With the light wind, Benny obviously showing you his superior detection skills. If you saw where he's sniffing the little round bales of wire, and he did what we call a button hook and work that scent right back into that cone because it's actually in that barrier. So there's not much wind blowing through there to actually provide much of a scent cone. Our wind's picking up, so we'll see if that changes our scent cone. So the stronger the wind, the narrower our scent cone, the less bracketing you'll actually see. With the narrow scent cones, they can work themselves out of it, where they have to work back towards it to get back in it and hit that scent cone, which is pretty much a funnel from target odor, depending on the wind direction, that they'll work towards the source. So with the K-9s, the world is our obstacle course, so Benny is familiar with jumping on all these obstacles and tables just to get them used to different environments. If you think of odor like a smoke grenade or smoke bomb, if you've ever seen one of those, the way the wind blows it, the farther it gets from the actual source of what's causing the smoke, the wider that blanket or cone is spread. It's similar to what odor does. So what you'll see is Benny working a pattern. He's going to work up one area, down across another, and then back towards whatever objects he sees as productive objects. But we do want to keep them on pattern. If they run from side to side, forward and backwards, they expel a lot more energy. So we want them to still, with their good conditioning, be able to take the odor in through their nose. And if they're panting and their mouth's open, it makes it a lot harder for them to actually get the odor quicker and easier. The way they let off heat, since they don't sweat, is through panting and through glands in their feet and through their ears. With his mouth closed, that's when you'll see dogs like overheat and stuff like that. They'll work through it. It's our job to make sure that they're not overheating. We keep ice packs and wet towels in the vehicle if they do overheat, to cool them off as well. Troy is making sure that Benny is encountering all productive areas. He doesn't have to put his hand on each object. If he stays in that area and with his training, he can ensure Benny hits all productive areas. So once he determined that all the productive areas have been hit on the trailer, he allowed Benny to work into the area on his own to ensure that he encountered the odor that were on these lights. So our job as a handler is to let the dog's nose do what it does, because that is their greatest asset. Our job as handlers is to stay out of their way and make sure all productive areas where odor could be located are given to the dog to encounter. So you can tell by his tongue hanging out, and it looks like an old ladle spoon, that he is getting tired, but he's still willing to work through that tiredness and that conditioning.
As you see, Kyle is directing him on the trailer where he wants him to search, making sure he has every opportunity to encounter odor. It's our job as handlers to pay attention to where he's conducting a free air sniff, and if need be, direct him back to work. Sometimes as dogs, they do want to play. So once the handler feels secure that all the areas have been searched, he's had the opportunity to encounter odor, he'll move him on to the next obstacle. Sometimes they'll work in a pattern. It can be clockwise, counterclockwise. Our job is just to make sure that the dogs are able to encounter odor if need be. If you notice, our dogs are not afraid to jump on obstacles to make sure that the top of those areas are searched. Out here in this yard, we have trailers, water tanks, bleachers, gates, cinder blocks, trailer ties, fence posts. These are all different areas that dogs can encounter drugs in while we're working. It's not unusual to encounter things like this. When we're training, we try to train the dogs to encounter as many different obstacles as we can. So stairs, higher platforms. Sometimes we'll search up stairwells to second floors of buildings. What we try to do is make the dogs uncomfortable and then make them comfortable in those areas. So as we're training, if a dog is afraid of heights, we will have the dog encounter heights and then keep them up there until they're comfortable with it. On traffic stops, we do encounter flatbed trailers like this, so we'll train the dogs to search in those areas. We'll also, if need be, we'll work sports venues, so we'll encounter bleachers. The handler is directing the dog to search different areas. As you can see, Cooper's encountered odor. He stopped searching the different areas. He started sniffing in one spot, showing interest. You can tell his body's squared up to it. His nose is actually touching where the scent is coming from, so he's getting as close to that source as he could. And then even though a dog doesn't sit and give us that final response that we're looking for, doesn't mean that the dog hasn't encountered odor. We can obviously see behavioral changes in the dog from when he was just sniffing around the area. And there's your final response, to sit.
We'd like to thank Robert and the City of Prescott for spending the day with us. Hope you enjoyed our time with Cooper and Benny. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Prescott Police K-9 Unit. Have a great day.
Thank you.